You're listening to the Sales Success Stories podcast, where we deconstruct world-class sales performers to provide insights and strategies to help you improve. To learn more, visit us at top1.fm. Here's your host, Scott Ingram.
Today on the podcast, I've got another sample story from the Sales Success Stories book for you. Since it's the time of year that many of us are working to wrap our heads around new territories and new numbers, I thought this story from Trey Simonton would be particularly valuable. Give a listen, and please don't be shy about sharing this with the rest of your team.
Story 42. Set your goals at 2 to 3 times your quota and build a daily routine to overachieve. By Trey Simonton. We all hear about the importance of setting our goals high, but I struggled for many years to understand what that meant and how to create a plan to overachieve on my quota. As a seasoned sales rep, I've watched many of the best focus on their numbers. They dissect their territory well and seem always to have a plan to quickly exceed their quota, get into accelerators, and make some real money. That's why we do what we do, right? A better way of managing this process became very clear to me in January of 2010. I had just attended a conference where Mark Allen, a 6-time Ironman Triathlon World Champion, spoke about his struggle to beat one of the best triathletes of all time. Mark shared that although for years he dominated in triathlons around the globe, he continuously finished behind Dave Scott at the Ironman Triathlon World Championship in Kona, Hawaii. Mark shared that to be a world champion and to beat Dave Scott, he had to change his diet, his training, and focus on how he could be the best. Mark's talk got me to thinking that maybe I needed to step back and change my approach to sales. When I returned to the office that year, we were in the middle of territory planning. Instead of doing what I always did, I took a different approach and scheduled a meeting with my sales operations team. I asked for detailed stats on my average deal size the prior year and the average deal size of the broader sales team. I requested conversion rates for how many emails it took on average across the team to get one sales call, and how many calls it took with a prospect before it created an opportunity. With that information, my close rates were easy to understand. This helped me set weekly goals around the pipeline I needed to achieve my higher goals. I wanted to look at my sales activity as a math problem.
At this point in the book, there's a table that Trey is about to talk about. You can find that table at top1.fm/Trey sample, or just click on the link in your podcast player. It's all there.
The table highlights my quota and personal goals and how I got to the number of calls and meetings I wanted to schedule each week in an effort to build to overexceed my quota. I took the time to back into what activities it would take daily to reach my higher annual sales goals. We all know that 4 times pipeline is a good target for sales bookings. That number divided by 50 selling weeks helped me realize how much pipeline I needed to generate each week. Taking it a step further, my success rate for calls or meetings that turn into an opportunity was also 1 in 4. As I dug deeper, I discovered that it took about 32 emails or about 8 phone calls just to generate 1 meeting. What was interesting is once I knew my numbers, I threw out any thought about my quota and created new habits and routines daily based on my personal and annual sales goals. I have a wife and 2 children, so 3 days of the week, I got up an hour early and sent 32 emails and made 8 phone calls. Most of the phone calls were messages, but I found prospects to be impressed that I was up earlier than they were, working to win over their business. The emails and phone calls became an obsession, but I believed in the numbers. I knew if I stuck with the routine, eventually the pipeline would come. Early morning emails and calls required me to prepare the list of whom I wanted to contact and the messaging the night before. I even scheduled 90 minutes of time to myself every Sunday to get direction on whom I wanted to target and the message I wanted to share. Over time, the pipeline started to come. I found the way I spent my days was changing. I would have all my prospecting done by 6 a.m. before my daughter woke up, and when I arrived at the office, my time was spent fielding client calls, preparing proposals, and progressing deals. My productivity went through the roof. As the end of the year approached, I was tracking towards $2.5 million in sales. As often happens, a $300,000 deal pushed into the following year, and I finished at $2.2 million in sales, 92% of my $2.4 million goal. Internally, I was devastated. I had changed my routines, but failed to hit my sales goals. Externally, I celebrated. I finished number 3 of 60 reps globally and made more money that year than I had made the 2 years prior. Further, I closed the last $300,000 deal in late January of the next year, starting off my next selling year with real momentum. I continue this routine to this day, knowing I must understand my numbers and set my goals high to be one of the best for both myself and the company I represent.
Hopefully that was helpful for you. There were certainly some great reminders for me in there. Now, if you haven't already, please pick up a copy of the book. You can find links to all the formats on all the places it's available at top1.fm/book. You might also want to go back and listen to my full interview with Trey, where we talked a fair amount about goal setting and territory management. That was back in episode 35. Finally, if you haven't joined the listener list yet, when you do, you're immediately eligible to pick the video of your choice from the 2018 Sales Success Summit. And one of those sessions features Trey along with David Weiss talking about territory and pipeline management. In that session, Trey walked everybody through his deal horizon spreadsheet and how he sets himself up to massively overachieve every year. For those of you who are already on that listener list and get the weekly emails, just shoot me a note and I'll hook you up. I really appreciate your loyalty. Oh, and one more reason to be on that list. I have a major announcement coming in just the next few days, and it's those subscribers who are going to be the very first to hear about a brand new offering. This won't be a sales pitch either. What I'm getting ready to announce is totally free. So again, if you're not already on the list, jump over to top1.fm and poke in your email address. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week with another interview from another top 1% sales performer.
Thanks for listening to the Sales Success Stories podcast. To be sure you never miss an episode, and for an invitation to our sales success community powered by Influitive, subscribe to our newsletter at top1.fm.